Welcome back to Vibrant Life. I'm Brent Lokker, and it's my joy and pleasure to continue to share with you the astounding news of a Father, a Heavenly Father, who is so good, so kind, and so in love with you. And today I want to help you if you're ever struggling with something that I can even struggle with at times, we all do at times, which is, does my life really matter? What's it about? Am I making a difference? And I'm telling you, by the time you finish watching this today, you're going to know your life matters. You are making a difference. Earlier this year, I went on a 3-day water fast for health reasons. I wanted to do this as kind of a cleansing thing, and I do it occasionally. But this was the first time that I had done water only, and I actually found it easier than other fasts for some reason. It just was. And there was something about fasting. I don't believe you need to fast in order to hear God or to encounter God. Although I'm going to share with you an amazing encounter I had at the end of this 3-day fast. But I do believe that fasting helps sometimes to just kind of cleanse sometimes the toxins from our body, from our mind, but also some of the things maybe that have been too important, which sometimes is in the area of food and drink. And you're just saying, you know what, I'm going to push those things aside. And anyway, at the end of this 3 days, before I broke the fast, I sat down to have a time with the Lord, what we might call a meditation, just time to be quiet and breathe and know that He's right here with me. I was not expecting something like what was going to happen, but it did. I'm going to be reading this a bit as I talk because it's otherwise going to be hard for me to remember all this. But believe me, I'll keep looking at you and talking to you. But it took several minutes for me to breathe, calm down. But then I began focusing on my heartbeat. And there it was, and the gratitude that came along with feeling my heart beating, life, pulsating and radiating to every corner of my body. I could feel then healing that was like shooting to every area of my body that needed it. Healing. My eyes were closed, but I was feeling all of this. I'm trying to explain this to you, and it doesn't always happen this way. It's just what happened on this particular day. And I was aware of the mystery and the beauty of the Trinity within me. When I say Trinity, I'm speaking of the Father and of Jesus and of Holy Spirit that were resonating within me. So at this point, I don't know that I knew it yet, but I was kind of being taken somewhere much deeper. So I remembered so clearly things that I could not have remembered in ordinary life, like just day-to-day life with all the distractions we have around us. And this is where it started. I remembered just a memory of one little boy that I coached when I was coaching Little League Baseball. And this little boy, I started to remember. I remembered him and all the things about his life. And I hadn't thought about him in a very long time. And I remembered that he had a single mom who was trying to make it, that how God had really given me a heart for him. And, I had spent extra time talking with him, helping him. He was not, I would not say he was really good at baseball. That's okay. Different kids are at different levels. But I was helping him extra and just trying to really help him grasp some of the basics of the game. And I did talk with him about Jesus because I knew he had a lot going on in his life. And I tend to talk to, especially younger ones, pretty casually just about Jesus who's there for him and who's a friend. And and who cares about every aspect of his life. And so then I remembered this day vividly. It was a baseball game we were playing, and he was up at the plate, and he had almost no hits all year. I don't think he had actually ever hit the ball. And on this particular day, he hit the ball really hard. He gets a single, and I happen to be the first base coach, which means I'm right there when he reaches first base. And he was beyond excited. We're giving each other high fives, and he says to me, I was talking with Jesus as my friend, and I was even asking him to help me hit the ball. And it was just such a fun memory. There was a lot more to helping him, but that memory came back to me, and I just remember at that point it kind of shifted, and I remembered my baseball coaches. So now I'm, in the first memory, I'm kind of going back about 30 years or so, and now I'm going back another 15 to 20 years, something like that, 15 years, and I'm remembering my baseball coaches, and I in this time everything was so crystal clear. As soon as I would think about them, I could not only see the picture, I instantly knew all their names. This was Mr. Paquette and Mr. Henry. Great coaches, and they made me feel so good about myself and helped me with all the skills and everything, but they were just great people. And in that moment, I realized how their kindness was just for a short span of time, and yet it really mattered in my life. God was showing me in this moment how interconnected we all are, and how, whether it's a brief moment or for longer periods of time, we might have seasons where we're making a difference or helping someone or kind to someone. It all matters. All of us are interconnected and intertwined. That none of us is there for everybody's life, for all the moments in someone's life. Not even me as a parent for my sons. Yeah, we had a lot more interaction, a lot more times where we imparted into them and loved on them and made a difference. But we couldn't be there for every part. Nor did we have everything that they needed. That came from so many other people. And so in the same way, we're all interconnected, intertwined. And I actually started crying in this moment where God was showing me all of this with this one little boy that I coached, and how many other memories await me when I'm in heaven one day. And he reveals to me all the different moments that I was kind to somebody, that I made a difference. And this is true for you too. I'm going to remind you again this later, but this is true for you. That you don't even remember the kindness and the love you've shared with people. You don't. None of us do. I didn't remember these things until God supernaturally brought me into a moment where everything else was kind of off the shelf, if you will, all the distractions, and suddenly he was bringing to me one memory after another, and it went on from here. I suddenly remembered all my teachers, and when I say all, I'm talking all, like all the way back from kindergarten on, Miss Smith, my kindergarten teacher, Miss Timish, Mrs. McPherson, Mrs. Doan, Miss Gilliam, who became Mrs. Deacon during the school year, my 4th grade year, Mrs. Wagner, who was going through so many hard times personally, yet was so available to us, and Mrs. Matson, my 6th grade teacher. I just share that because I don't know who may watch this video, for my way of saying to honor each one of these teachers, to say thank you, because as I was going through these memories, as I'm feeling them again as I'm talking to you about this. And this happened like about 9 months ago, and it's still coming back to me now. I remembered each teacher so crystal clear, and the ways in which they encouraged me, and the beautiful things about them. And I remembered some of the hard things they were going through, and yet they still chose to invest in me, to love me as a little boy through the times. Each one played their part, each one a critical role in helping to develop who I am and the way I saw life. But I also was aware of some of the ways in which I wasn't kind, and specifically to my sixth grade teacher. And I remember, for whatever reason, I didn't want her as a teacher, and that's the one I got selected to go to her class. And I don't know all that was going on in her life. Probably a lot of hard things. But I know that I wasn't kind. I didn't say a lot to her personally. It was more behind her back, which isn't, just as all the growing up things we all go through, some of the things we do along the way that we're not very proud of, for sure. And I know at different times in my life, I have asked God to forgive me where He's brought up things like this before. So this wasn't the first time I've thought about this. But suddenly I had a different appreciation for her. Specifically, I remember that she had a little vial of mercury in a closet that she sometimes would pull out and show us, and even let us. I'm sure would not be very kosher anymore, but probably pretty dangerous. But she, would put a little mercury on us, and we could touch the bubble and see the silver, and how cool it was, kind of like Jello, only much cooler. But we would put it back, and so me being a sixth grade kid, I don't know. I just decided it'd be better if I had that for myself in my own house. In other words, I stole it. I took it, and the next day or a couple days later, I don't know, whenever she realized it wasn't there, she brought it up to the whole class and said, "Hey, this is really dangerous. I need whoever, took this to admit so and bring it back." And of course, I didn't say anything. I was scared spitless, but I also no, I'm not going to say anything. Maybe it'll all just go away. But it didn't go away. And then she turned up the stakes a little bit, turned up the heat, and said, "I need to have this back. It's dangerous material. And so we're not going to go out to recess or lunch or whatever it was until somebody admits that they've taken it." So now my actions are bringing the whole class down and impacting the entire class. And nobody knew. I hadn't told anyone. Nobody knew that I took it. But what she did smartly is she said, "Everyone, she put a piece of paper down. I want you to write down on the piece of paper, I took this or I didn't take it," so that everybody's writing. "And I'm going to collect them. And if nobody admits to it, we're going to do it again." And that was when I realized the game was up. There was no way out. And I wrote down, I took it. And so when we all handed in the papers, she said, "Thank you. I now realize who took it. You all can go out to recess or lunch," whatever it was. Now, God's bringing back this whole memory to me, only this time for the first time in my life. At this age of my life, I am reflecting far back and saying, "Oh my goodness, thank you, Lord, for this teacher who cared enough." It was very dangerous material. She cared enough. She then made a way for me to fess up, if you will, that didn't put me right out there in front of everybody. But I did end up going to the vice principal. I did get in trouble. I don't remember what the, whether there was any kind of punishment or anything. I don't remember. But I'm saying at the time, I just thought, "Oh, I got in trouble because of you. I couldn't see what she was doing." So I'm saying this to say God was even showing me the different ways we impact people, sometimes when we don't even know it. It's not always about being this, smiley, kind, everything's great, complimenting each other. That's a big part of loving each other, for sure. But there are times where we actually have to say some of the hard things in love, in a way that's going to help somebody. And some of us we've all done that at times. And that matters too, okay? And then God continued to show me the same thing with my junior high teachers, my high school teachers. And I, like many of you probably, I had a different teacher every period of every class of the day. And so I had many teachers, all I had to do was think about one of them and instantly see their picture. Instantly, I knew their name. Instantly, I remembered the impact they had on me. I'm going to spare you reading all of the names off. Oh, but I had some amazing teachers in junior high and high school. As I said already, and I want to go back to this again, what you do in your life matters. In those moments when we're asking ourselves, what's my life about? Does it matter? Am I making a difference? It's because in that moment, we can't possibly imagine all the different times we have helped people, loved people, been kind to people, taught them something, showed them something, helped them see themselves in a better light. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. We can't remember. It's hard for us to remember what we did last week, let alone last year or a decade ago. And what I want to tell you again is that somehow when we leave this life, when I say this life, I'm talking about this body. Our life never ends. Jesus said, you will not die. He said, you're going to go from life to more life. But when we transition into the more life, and there is an awareness of Jesus like we've never had before, and the love and the kindness of our Father is right there embracing us in ways that we can't even imagine. I know there's going to be a way in which He shows us all of the kindnesses, all of the love we displayed. Remember in 1 Corinthians 13, it says that faith, hope, and love remain. They remain. They don't go away. But the greatest is love. So I don't know what that means or how it is that faith, every time we trust God and agree with His heart. Hope, every time we believe in our there's a future good and we hang in there. And love, every time we express kindness and gentleness and tenderness towards people, it all somehow remains. However that happens, I don't know, but it happens. And I believe there is a way in which God even shows us the ripple effects. I have watched some near-death experiences and listened to some stories, and some of them are people that I know that talk about that, where it wasn't their time to die, they came back, and they talk about how our life, the ripple effect of just, an act of kindness or a season where you're with someone. Sometimes we have that, sometimes we can have guilt feelings because we're like, well, I helped people for that season. Maybe you let someone stay in your house or a room for a season, but you couldn't keep doing it because something else came up in your life. It's okay. The kindness you demonstrated, it isn't somehow nullified because there was a different season. I hope this is helping some of you. And even, I'm just going to say this too, that I know sometimes relationships go sour. Something happens and something's poisoned in a relationship. It doesn't nullify every good thing that happened before that. All the love that was shown, the friendship, the kindness. Sometimes we think, well, that all just goes away. Nope. The kindness you and a friend had for each other, or you and another, it all matters. It helped each one of you through a season of life. And that, again, is what God was showing me, is that we're all there at different seasons. My teachers that I recollected, probably some of them, likely many of them or some of them are not alive anymore. Each one of us has a season, a time, and then we are that for another. The coach, I had coaches that were so important to me, and then I became someone's coach. I did the same, of course, for my sons. I loved them when they were young, and I coached them sometimes. Now they're turning around and loving on their kids. It all plays out, and so we are there for little bits of time, sometimes just a moment, all the way to huge seasons of time. It all matters. I want to read to you this one amazing verse. I mean, amazing. And then I'm going to pray for you, okay, to encourage you. And this comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and Paul, the author, he's talking to the people in this city called Corinth. And he's heard back from them. Some of them are saying, oh, we're following this guy over here or that guy over there. One was named Paul himself, the one who wrote it. The one was named Apollos. One was named Peter. And they were like kind of having factions among themselves. We're this camp. We're that camp. He says, oh, no. Don't you understand? We're all just part of the picture. We're all doing our part. We're all part of this interconnectedness, intertwinedness, but it's really all about Jesus and our Father, the author of love, working through us to bless each other. And so at the end of this chapter, he says the most amazing thing, really. He says, so therefore, there is to be no boasting about human beings. Remember, I follow this one or that one. He says, everything belongs to you. Everything. This is speaking to you right now. Everything belongs to you. Whether that's Paul or Apollos or Cephas, which is another word for Peter, or the world. The world? Yeah, the world belongs to you. Life or death, the present or the future, all belongs to you. But you belong to Christ, and Christ belongs to God. So God, our Father, is the author of love, the author of life, the author of joy, the author of everything that is good in us. And Christ is the one who, with the Father, opened up that love to all of us through his death on the cross, through his resurrection. He opened all of it up to all of us so that when all things come together in him, which is what the scriptures tell us, all things are made by him and for him and through him, and all things come together in him. You can start to see the interconnectedness. There is this love thread. His name is Jesus. Not everybody knows that, but there is this love thread that runs through us, and that every one of us belongs to each other. How much different life would be if we knew every person belongs to us? How would we treat them? So I just want to encourage you, keep going with the kindness, keep going with the encouragement. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're doing something monumental. I don't know. You haven't discovered the next this or that. You haven't come up with this newest invention. I don't know. It's funny, the things we think we're supposed to be doing to be significant. God says you're already significant, and what I've created you to do more than anything is to love other people. And every act of love matters. So I just want to pray right now, courage to your heart. Courage and hope. I declare hope into your hearts. Hope of the Father, that he created you, that he loves you, and that your life is making a difference every single day just by being light, by choosing to show up, by looking for ways to be kind. It all matters. I bless you in this really good journey called life.